This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button for all the up-to-date news. Today I'm going to be talking about the legality of Priti Patel's attempt to return migrants by intercepting them at sea. In my view, Priti Patel's latest scheme to intercept refugees is sunk by the French before it even got a chance to set sail. Rather a reversal of the Battle of Trafalgar, one might say. This has been all over the news, and I thought I would add my view to the announcement by Priti Patel as to her plans to return migrant boats to France. Something which is, in short, in breach of international law, but more of that later. Following on from a recent humiliation, such as it being found that it was not appropriate nor safe to lock asylum seekers up in squalid conditions, the Secretary of State now wants the UK Border Force to stop the rubber dinghies at sea and then tow them back to France. If it was not so outrageous, it would be laughable. In fact, it is laughable, as it's never going to happen. It's just yet more hot air from this Secretary of State. The background to this, as people will know, is on Wednesday evening Priti Patel announced the plan, something that the Home Office has apparently been working on for over 2 years. Apparently they've been training members of the UK Border Force in this kind of interception and return policy, though it's actually never been carried out. The plans, not surprisingly, have infuriated many people, including charities, immigration workers' unions, and more importantly, the French government, and I'll come to that. As I've mentioned, border staff are being trained to employ what are called turnaround tactics at sea, forcing migrant boats to return when they are already in British waters. Actually, how they're going to turn around a small rubber dinghy without tipping people into the sea, I have yet to see. There are a number of problems that Ms Patel could either not foresee or chose to waste money or more money on training staff for something that they will never ever do. Instead of fixing the broken, and her words not mine, asylum system and spending the money on this, she has chosen to spend it on converting the UK Border Force into a kind of private navy so that she can, as it were, as the admiral of the Border Force fleet, protecting the UK shores. Sounds good, but it's ridiculous. It's a novel idea, having a Border Force Navy, but I always thought we had the Royal Navy, a well-respected organisation that goes back to, I think, Alfred the Great in the 9th century, but I might be mistaken. In fact, what actually happens, and you can see from the photograph, is that the Border Force vessels at the moment are actually picking people up in the Channel, and guess where they're taking them? Yes, to the United Kingdom, where they can have their claims properly and legally processed. Now the blunt reality as to why it's never ever going to happen, and why it is just yet more hot air, and why it will just silently fade away. The plan will never work for the following reasons. Firstly, it will place the United Kingdom in breach of international law. Put shortly, the UK has an obligation to help anyone who is at danger at sea, and anyone in a 6-foot rubber boat in one of the most congested shipping lanes of the world certainly is at risk. Secondly, it relies on the French to accept people back. This is particularly given that without the French consent for the British bringing people to France and dropping them off on their shores, it would almost be tantamount to an invasion of French sovereign territory. Thirdly, and this is fatal, the French are not willing to cooperate, therefore leaving the plan dead in the water, if you pardon the pun, as one might say. Oh, and I might remind viewers that if Boris had not got his Brexit done, there was a provision for returning people to France, but this was not negotiated or agreed upon under the withdrawal agreement. Whoopsie-a-daisy, Priti. I guess the fundamental reason there will be no returns is that Boris had not properly read the EU withdrawal agreement and has consequently, in his words, spaffed your chances of this plan ever working. Of course, there are other reasons why this shouldn't be done, but these relate to the need to recognise that people who are fleeing persecution often enter the country by irregular routes, given the absence of any proper system for people to come to the United Kingdom. Also, there's the humane aspect to it, which that seems to be missing from the Home Office, notwithstanding the promise to have a humane Home Office, of trying to intercept small boats at sea with women and children on board. The fact that there isn't regular routes is highlighted recently by the fact that the government committed to taking 5,000, yes, only 5,000 Afghans a year, which is barely a drop in the ocean given the humanitarian crisis that has overcome that country. Looking back, a cynic might think that Priti Patel is coming out with ever more ridiculous notions to cover up her numerous failures and court losses to avoid being reshuffled in the upcoming cabinet reshuffle. It's hard to recall a more incompetent Secretary of State, or one with perhaps less integrity, especially having regard to her failings. Many have resigned over far less. But then, having resigned once for having drinkies on the quiet with the Israelis, perhaps she is frightened she will not get back in for a third time. Mind you, given this government, pretty much anything can happen. So don't worry, Priti. You can always remember the saying, third time lucky. On a serious note, if you are a migrant or you are somebody in the United Kingdom who is uncertain about their immigration status or wants some advice, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me and I will do my level best to help you. Sorry to report this awful story, but I think it's worth reporting it and pointing out in fairly short terms how ridiculous the whole thing is, and points to where the Home Office is really heading. Hopefully, as I say, there will be a reshuffle and hopefully there will be a new Home Secretary, one who possesses at least a shred of humanity and understands the needs of migrants, both those in the country unlawfully and those that seek to regularise their status because of the poor state of some countries worldwide. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please stay safe, as I always say, in these dangerous times. And again, please subscribe to my channel and again hit the notification button. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers.